Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. This is the war cry of the Jewish people. It's the last thing you say before you go to sleep. It's the last thing you say before you leave your body at the end of your life. It's not a prayer, by the way, because we're not speaking to Hashem. Shema Yisrael. Listen, Jewish people. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem, infinite creator beyond time and space. Elokeinu is also completely, immanently present in the world. Hashem Echad. But don't think there are two gods. There's just one God. It's all God. Two different aspects of one God. Not that there are two gods, God forbid. Ein od milvado. There's only God. Shema Yisrael. What does Shema mean? Listen, hear, understand, integrate. If I say to you, listen to me, what am I saying to you?
Pay attention.
Pay attention to what I'm telling you. Get the lesson, learn from this, get insight. So there's listening to music in the background. It's not called listening necessarily, you're just hearing the music. People say, for example, I don't feel heard. In my relationship, I don't feel heard. That means that I'm speaking, but they're not receiving what I have to say. So we really have these two parts of a relationship. There's speaking, and then there's hearing, listening to what someone else is saying. And speaking, we said a few times, is the way that we bring our internal world out into the external world. Our thoughts and emotions. We express our thoughts and emotions through our speech. So it's really bringing out our deepest inner world to someone. So that's why the greatest way to have a relationship, the deepest relationship you're going to have with your wife, is when you speak to her. And you ask her, what do you need? How do you feel? Two most important questions in marriage, I believe, by the way. Every day. How do you feel? What do you need in general? What do you need from me? Why do I ask those questions? Because I want to know my wife's inner world. That's how you create intimacy, which my wife says means into me see. See into me. But how can I see into my wife? If she doesn't speak to me, I can't know how she's feeling. But then imagine someone speaking to you, and they're expressing their deepest inner world, and you're on your phone. It's the biggest betrayal. I'm trying to express to you something very deep. My son is talking to me and I'm on my computer. I'm like, hold on a second, I've got something more important than you. So listening is a very, very, very important aspect of relationship. To be able to just listen, to receive what someone else has to say. It's very, very difficult just to listen to what other people have to say, because you want to say something back, or you judge what they say. Everything anyone says to you, you're filtering it through your mind. If you're me, by the way, you want to give advice all the time. Anyone speaking, you're like, all right, here's my advice. It's like, hold on, I didn't ask for advice. I just wanted to share how I'm feeling right now. So you always got to try and listen deeper. Rav Shlomo gives an example. If someone calls you up and say, hey, I'm going to kill myself now. I'm killing myself within the next hour. I just wanted to say goodbye. If you listen a little bit deeper, what are they saying? They're saying, I need help. Because if they really wanted to, they wouldn't phone you and tell you they're doing it within the next hour. They're saying, hey, I don't want to do this, but I'm alone. You've got to hear deeper. The Brisker Rav, famous story. A woman came up to him just before Pesach. And on Pesach we have 4 cups of wine. There's a mitzvah to drink 4 cups of wine. The woman went up to the Brisker Rav and says, look, I'm very, very poor. Am I allowed to fulfill the mitzvah of the 4 cups of wine using milk instead of wine? And he said, I'm sorry you can't, but don't worry, here's money, buy whatever you need for your Seder. So she left, and all of his students said to him, hold on, you gave her a lot of money, that's much more money, wine doesn't cost that much. And he said, yeah, but if she was prepared to do the cups of wine on milk, it means she didn't have enough money for meat either. So I wanted to give her meat. He could hear a little bit deeper what's really being said. So can you hear a bit deeper what's really being said? I'm just calling out for help. I just want some connection. I don't need your advice. I just need you to listen to me. Very, very, very difficult just to listen to someone. Just to hear what they have to say. Just on a basic level, by the way. I was sitting in the new building about 5 years ago in the lobby. Girl walks in, sees another girl. They obviously haven't seen each other for a while. And one said, I just got back from Italy. And the other one said, my mum's been to Italy. I was like, what, you're just matching words here? How about, oh wow, how was that? No, my mum's been to Italy. And the rest of the conversation was like, yeah, I had some pizza. Oh, I like pizza. It was like, well, you're not even really speaking to each other. So speaking is an active thing, and listening in general, hearing is more of a passive thing. It's just receiving someone else. Very difficult thing to do, because I have my opinion. I want to give my opinion. However, listening can also be an active thing. There's something called active listening. I'm listening in order to gain insight, in order to connect to you in a deeper way. Shema Yisrael. It's the most important declaration we have. Listen. Just stop and listen. Can you listen on a deeper level? Can you listen to your own heart? Do you hear what your heart is telling you? Obviously we have to run that through our mind as well. Make sure it's not irrational. But are you open to listening to something deeper? When people are teaching you in yeshiva, are you just getting some information, or are you integrating that? Are you understanding it? Are you thinking to yourself, how do I put this into action? It takes a lot of humility just to listen to someone. Receive what they have to say. Can you listen to people without judging them? I just hear that. I actually hear what you're saying. Even if I don't agree. I gave this class once, and someone in the class said to me, I don't agree with that. And they were a bit upset about it. And they said, I just don't agree. And I said to them, well, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand my point? And she said, I don't even understand what you're saying. So I said to her, well, if you don't understand what I'm saying, how can you disagree? You can only disagree. Maybe you just disagreed because you already judged me and what I was going to say. So you heard what I said through your ears. There's a couples conversation technique called imago therapy, which is you repeat back to the person everything they said. Imago. I-M-A-G-O. It's a type of communication thing. So your wife says something to you, and you repeat back and you say, this is what I heard. And you say back, this is what she said. And very often she'll be like, no, that's actually not what I said. Even if you're like, what do you mean? Those are the exact words. It's like, yeah, but that's not what I said. You heard the words, you didn't hear what I said. It's a very powerful technique. Because we don't hear people what they're really saying. You interrupt people. How often do you interrupt people? How do you know what other people really need? So every month of the year, there are 12 months of the year, and there are 12 tribes. There are also letters, there are also faculties. So there's a book called Sefer Yetzirah, and our tradition teaches that Abraham wrote it. It's the first book of Kabbalah. And he matches the months of the year to different tribes, different letters, different faculties. So the faculty of the month of Av is hearing. You have speaking. Nisan is about speaking. You have seeing. You have eating. You even have sleeping. Kislev is sleeping. So we've said all along in my classes that every area of your life is an avoda, which means a spiritual practice. So how you sleep, when you sleep, why you sleep, that's an avoda. How you see the world. Are you looking at the world through good eyes, through caring eyes? Are you eating in a conscious way? So each month of the year is given over for you to work on a particular aspect of your being. The month of Av is given over to work on this aspect. of just being able to hear someone, just being able to listen to what other people have to say. And it makes sense. Why? Because the temple was destroyed because we didn't. It was called sinat chinam, which means baseless hatred, which basically means your opinion doesn't count to me. I'm right, you're wrong, and I can't really hear what you're saying. Now the power of humble hearing someone doesn't mean that you agree with them and you are going to change your mind necessarily. By the way, it might if you do. But it can just be, I hear you. I hear you, I validate you, I respect you, I value you as a person, I value you. And then we don't have to agree. We can hear each other, but we don't have to agree with each other. So the temple was destroyed. The very first Tisha B'Av was when the spies went to Israel. In the desert, we sent spies into Israel, and they came out of Israel, and they spoke Lashon Hara. They said bad things about the land of Israel. It's a very important thing, by the way. Lashon Hara isn't only about people. It's not only saying negative things about other people. That definitely you can't do. But even any negative thing. There's a famous story in the Gemara, I've forgotten which Rebbe, but he was walking along with two of his students, and they saw a rotting dog carcass on the side of the road. And one of them said, "Oh, look how disgusting that is." And the other one said, and it really stinks. So the Rebbe, I've forgotten which one, said, "Yeah, but look how white his teeth are." Just try and look for the good. So you can't say bad things about Eretz Israel, but they came out and they spoke Lashon Hara. The other side of Lashon Hara is listening. You're not allowed to listen to Lashon Hara. Because you're completely, if there's no one listening, then there's no Lashon Hara. There are two sides. Different story how practically we do that. If you go home and all your friends are speaking Lashon Hara, how do you deal with that? You're not like, you got to be a normal person, but you can get up, you can walk away, or you can just change this topic and start saying nice things. It's actually amazing. In the place where lots of us grew up, it seems like most conversation is Lashon Hara. It's talking about sports people and politicians and movie stars, and did you hear that this happened, and did you hear? So that's also very important. What are you letting coming into your ears? Judaism teaches that the sense of hearing is actually much more powerful than the sense of sight. It's much deeper. You're much more... I still don't really get it, because if you ask me, God forbid, to choose between my eyes and my ears, I definitely want my eyes. But the Gemara says, no, really a deep person would choose their ears over their eyes. To be able to really hear other people, to hear the pain of other people. That's what you're meant to use your ears for, to hear Torah, to hear pain of other people, to do something about it. And so the people in the desert, they listened to the spies, and they heard it and they just accepted it. So another part of hearing is, you don't have to accept everything you hear. You have to hear it, but you can then reject it. And you say, I'm not listening to that. So you've got to guard your eyes and your nose and your mouth and your senses, your touch, and you've got to guard what are you listening to. What type of music are you listening to? Is it angry music? Yeah, but I like it. Okay. But it's angry music. It creates emotions. Music is very, very powerful. Music can be used very powerfully to control your emotions. When I lived in Asia for 6 years, I was a DJ, dance music DJ, so music was quite important to me. As soon as I got to Asia, I said, I'm not going to listen to music in headphones at all, because I don't want to be controlled by the external world so much. I want to have inner self-control. Obviously I heard music and there was stuff going on. This is another reason why we don't listen to music now. We're in the 9 days, you're not meant to listen to music at all. Why is that? Because what we want to do is try and go a little bit deeper into ourselves and listen to our inner world. You have your own music playing in your heart. Now it's either sad, which is okay, by the way, and we try to drown out the sad music in our heart with whatever, drugs and happy music. Saying, hold on, just spend a little time and hear a little bit deeper. I gave the example yesterday, if there's a bird singing, but there's a speaker playing very loud music, You can't hear the bird singing. But if you can turn off the speaker, then the bird is singing. It's still singing. It was always singing, you just couldn't hear it because the noise of the world was too strong. So we say for these 3 weeks really, but now we're in the 9 days, is let's not get distracted and let's have a little more internal listening. What's my heart saying to me? What's my soul, even more important? Can you even hear your soul? Your soul's yearning for you to listen to your soul. Your body is speaking so loudly that you can't hear your soul. So we also say you don't drink wine, you don't eat meat, you don't go shopping, you don't buy new clothes, you don't even wash your clothes. There's no laundry. It's to say, hold on, let's just detach from that and go internal. Listen to what's going on inside me, and then we can fix the whole mistake of the Jewish people, which was, firstly, they listened to Lashon Hara, they listened to bad things, but then they couldn't hear someone else's opinion. Sinat Chinam, it's called. Baseless hatred. I just hate you. There's no reason to hate someone just because they have a different opinion from you. Unless they're like psycho and they want to kill you. That. But, they don't believe in God. That's a reason to hate someone because they don't believe in God? I don't think that's a reason to hate someone. So we've got to go to that place where we can hear everything really as the voice of God. Hear everything. This is Hashem speaking to you. So if someone comes up and insults you, rather than reacting and insulting them back, just take a breath and say, why do I need to hear this now? Why has this come now? Now it might be for you to have self-confidence and say, hold on, that's not true. But not shout back, just for your own self. Or it might be for you to say, well, no, maybe there's some truth in this. If someone comes up to you and says, you are so ungrateful. So our ego would react to that and say, what are you talking about? We get hurt, so we react. But in Av, we're going to practice the opposite. We're going to hear what they say, we're going to take a deep breath, and we're going to say, well, is that true? And you can say, maybe, you know what? To an extent it is true. Or you did the wrong thing, or you let me down, or we tend to react to those things because we're not hearing it, because we don't want to hear it, we want to block that, so we just fight back. We can't do that. That's not a healthy way to relate to people. So you've got to find the balance. How much of what this person is saying to me is actually true? And you can reject some of it. You can say, you know what, I am a kind person, I'm not perfect. And you grow from what is true, and you grow from rejecting what is not true. That's very healthy. And Av this month is called Av, it means Father. Av Rachaman, our merciful Father. It means Hashem wants relationship with us. But what does mercy mean? What does compassion? What is compassion? Compassion is when you can hear someone else. When you can really hear what someone else needs. And really be there for them. There's something called false compassion, my Rebbe speaks about it. You see a guy, he's not very rich, and you're like, I feel so bad for him. In the meantime, he's really happy. He's got everything he likes, but you've put yourself in his shoes, and you're like, if I were in his shoes, I'd be miserable. Therefore, I have compassion for him. But in the meantime, he has compassion for you that you're so obsessed with your clothes and stuff. Someone gave the example, imagine you help an old lady across the street with her shopping, and she screams, she goes, I didn't want to cross the street. I live on that side of the street. You're like, no, I'm helping you. It's like, well, you're not helping me. This is another thing. Can you help people in the way that they need to be helped? Or are you assuming this is how they need to be helped? I'm going to help you like this. No, I don't need that help. One of the famous things that lots of marriage classes teach is sometimes your wife doesn't want an answer. She just wants to express herself. So if my wife says, I had this issue today, and I'm like, well, you could do this. She's like, well, you're not listening to me. You're just giving me advice. I don't want advice. I just want to share how I'm feeling. It's very difficult for me, by the way. I did learn. I was like, wow, that must have been really hard. In general, by the way, we need to validate other people's emotions before trying to solve them. Yourself as well, and your children, and everyone. But to be able to just say, I hear that. I hear you, which means I understand how that must feel for you. I hear your pain. Now maybe this is something, I very rarely, well, this is not true, I was about to say I very rarely give people advice. But what I mean by that is, if someone tells me that they're struggling with a certain issue, I often say, well, when I was going through that thing, this is what helped me. Rather than preaching and teaching them, I just say this. Why is that? Because then they can hear it better. People often can't hear advice. I'm telling you what to do, but they can hear it when you say, this works for me. The tribe of the month, by the way, is Shimon. It comes from the word hear, to hear. Leah had Shimon and she was like, Hashem's heard my cries. Hashem feels my pain. So if you want to be a compassionate person, you've got to hear. So what we want to try and do for the next 9 days, don't speak as much. Don't be the giver, the speaker. Be the one who's just listening. Just learn to listen in a deep way, and then what starts happening is you can start hearing Hashem. Everyone says, I pray, so I'm speaking to Hashem, but when's Hashem speaking to me? I never hear Hashem speaking to me. And the truth is, every interaction you have is Hashem speaking to you. Hashem brought that person into your life with that issue, with that problem, in order to help you. Think about yourself. If you get insulted, that's Hashem saying, okay, you need to hear that. If you get praised, you need to not get arrogant about that. So you can walk around just listening now. This is Hashem. The whole world, every noise is Hashem sending me a message. How can I receive it? Listening is about receiving, and then active listening is about receiving in order to create connection and relationship. And that's how we rebuild the temple. When we can stop judging other people and just see them and hear them and validate them. And that's how you create intimacy, by receiving other people. That's our avodah. Really, really try it. Note it, and all you have to do, be mindful. Notice when you're about to interrupt someone. Someone's talking and you want to say something. Maybe they're saying, I went to Italy. And you're about to say, just don't. Just hold yourself back and say, I don't need to speak now. This month isn't the avodah of speaking. That's Nissan. This month is a avodah of listening. Just listen. Listen. Maybe even in your class, the guy asks the question, the teacher asks the question, and you want to give your answer. Maybe don't. Maybe just listen to what other people say first. In your chevruta, you're arguing with your chevruta, maybe stop and say, hold on, maybe he's got a point. Maybe I'll listen to what he's saying. I want to hear that. It's this immense power of receiving, and then in that way you create real compassion, real connection. Be'ezrat Hashem. And that's how we rebuild the Beit HaMikdash, when we can really listen to other people. Be'ezrat Hashem. Chodesh Tov. Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh, you're going to have a new head, a new way of thinking, a new perspective, listening to yourself, listening to other people, listening to Hashem.